I'm going to say this straight up. What just happened between Ottawa, Washington, and the Middle East is nothing short of historic. Prime Minister Mark Carney has made a move that nobody saw coming, a move so bold that even Donald Trump himself was left momentarily speechless. And trust me, when Trump is quiet, you know something seismic just happened. Now, you might be thinking, what could Canada possibly do in the Middle East that would ripple across the entire globe? After all, for decades, Canada has been seen as the quiet mediator, the cautious peacekeeper, the one who steps in with polite diplomacy while the United States throws its weight around. But not this time. Carney didn't just step into the conversation. He flipped the table, took control, and announced a policy that instantly rewrote Canada's role on the world stage. And here's the kicker. This wasn't just about foreign policy. This was about power. About who really gets to call the shots in the Middle East, and whether Canada, a country often underestimated in global politics, could suddenly rise to the position of a true kingmaker. Let me walk you through exactly what happened, because the details are jaw-dropping. Carney, standing before Parliament in Ottawa, declared that Canada would no longer simply follow the lead of its allies in the Middle East. Instead, Canada is officially carving its own path independent of Washington, independent of London, independent of anyone else. And he didn't just talk about humanitarian aid or diplomatic gestures. No. Carney rolled out a full-scale strategy that combines economic pressure, military alliances, and a massive humanitarian outreach program that dwarfs anything seen before. And here's where things get really interesting. Carney tied Canada's move directly to energy security. He openly accused major powers, without naming names, of manipulating Middle Eastern politics purely to control oil and gas markets. Then he said something that made jaws drop across every newsroom in North America. Canada will not stand by while nations treat the Middle East as their chessboard. We're here to change the game. You can imagine how that landed in Washington. Trump's White House scrambled within hours, issuing a statement that was supposed to sound strong, but behind the scenes? Sources say Trump was livid. He was pacing the Oval Office, slamming his fist on the desk, demanding to know how Canada, a country he thought he could keep in line, had just blindsided him on an issue as big as the Middle East. And if you think this is just another diplomatic spat, you're dead wrong. Because Carney didn't just talk, he acted. Within 24 hours, Canada announced it would be spearheading an international summit, not in Washington, not in Brussels, but in Toronto. Leaders from across the Middle East, Europe, Africa, and Asia were invited. And here's the detail that stunned even veteran diplomats. Carney's office confirmed that several key U.S. allies in the Middle East had already RSVP'd to Canada, not to Trump. Think about that for a second. Canada, not the United States, is suddenly becoming the hub for global negotiations on the most volatile region on Earth. This is the kind of shift that usually takes decades. Carney just forced it overnight. But wait, it gets even more dramatic. When Trump tried to reassert U.S. leadership by announcing his own Middle East Peace Forum, the response was tepid at best. Allies hesitated. Some even outright declined. And why? Because Carney had already promised something far more tangible: billions in humanitarian aid, new trade deals with Middle Eastern economies, and, most shocking of all, a Canadian-led energy partnership designed to reduce dependency on both American and Russian energy routes. Let that sink in. Carney isn't just challenging Trump diplomatically, he's challenging America's dominance in global energy politics. And he's doing it with the quiet confidence of a banker who knows the numbers are on his side. And yet, here's the suspenseful twist: nobody knows how far Carney is willing to go. Will Canada actually deploy forces as peacekeepers in hotspots Trump refuses to touch? Will Ottawa cut new security agreements that sideline the Pentagon? Already, whispers are emerging from NATO corridors that Canada may be forming a new coalition with European partners who are also tired of Washington's heavy-handedness. Friends, you need to understand what this means. For the first time in modern history, Canada is playing offense on the world stage. Not following. Not assisting. Leading. And in doing so, Carney just delivered one of the sharpest rebukes to Trump's foreign policy we've ever seen. But don't think Trump is just going to sit back and take it. No. Already, Washington insiders are leaking that retaliatory measures are being drafted. Tariffs on Canadian exports. Threats to pull troops from NORAD. Even the possibility of undermining Carney's summit by pressuring Middle Eastern leaders not to show up. Trump's playbook is predictable, but Carney seems to have anticipated every move. That's the genius of this strategy. Carney didn't announce his stand in isolation. For months, his office has been quietly building alliances, securing agreements, and preparing Canada to withstand whatever Trump throws back. He was 2 steps ahead before the Americans even realized there was a game being played. And here's where I want you to lean in and really think about this. If Carney succeeds, Canada's voice in global politics will never be ignored again. This is bigger than one summit, bigger than one speech. This is about Canada rewriting its role in the 21st century and doing it at a time when U.S. leadership is shaky, unpredictable, and often divisive. Now, I know what you're asking yourself. Where does this end? Does Carney become the face of a new international order, one built on diplomacy, energy partnerships, and humanitarian outreach? Or does Trump retaliate so harshly that Canada pays a devastating price? That's the suspense hanging over this story right now. Nobody knows which way it will break. But what I do know is this. For the first time in decades, the world isn't looking to Washington for answers. It's looking north to Ottawa, to Carney, to Canada. And if you thought this was just about the Middle East, think again. Because the ripple effects are already spreading. European capitals are openly praising Carney's courage. African leaders are signaling their support. Even parts of Asia are quietly reaching out to Canada, testing the waters for new partnerships. Trump may still hold the microphone, but Carney has stolen the stage. And in global politics, that's what really matters. So buckle up, because this is just the beginning. What comes next could redefine not just Canada's role in the world, but the balance of power between Ottawa and Washington for an entire generation. And mark my words, this showdown isn't over. Trump won't let it go quietly. And Carney? He looks ready to take the fight further than anyone ever imagined.